Hey everybody, welcome to day 102 of spiritual healthcare. So welcome all of you. This is going to be a great class. I had some great questions come in the other day and this morning as well about ghost shows and controversial stories and all sorts of things. As well as I want to do a follow-up on yesterday's class as well, because we talked about past lives and we kind of just got into that discussion. So I want to make sure that we seal that up and bring that to some kind of a conclusion. So good morning to everyone. Welcome. This is a spiritual healthcare day 102. Day 102, y'all, which is kind of exciting. And as I say, lots to talk about. So good morning to Patricia and Dan, and nice to see you guys. Nice to see everyone logging in this morning. I hope you guys are having a really good Tuesday. It is very sunny here. It's very nice here, but we're going to get thunderstorms today. Apparently, it's like all day thunderstorms, so that's kind of cool. So I'm excited. I'm excited about continuing the discussion about yesterday's show, because I think we ended up touching on some really important things about past lives, about the idea that sometimes past lives and the research into our past lives can end up serving a different purpose than what we think it does. I think sometimes when we dig into our past, we're looking to have it fill a hole, or have something that we're experiencing fill a hole that we have that is in the present, and we kind of we get backtracked. So we're going to continue to talk about that today, as I say, as well as talking about some really great questions that came in from Twitter about paranormal television and paranormal celebrities. So this will be really good. So good morning to Kaz and Brandy and Shadow and Sally. Nice to see everyone this morning. Brandy says she wants thunderstorms in Texas. Yeah, like we've been getting crazy thunderstorms here in Alberta, let me tell you. Like, we had a crazy one about a week ago. The night that I was on Coast to Coast AM, I was at the studio, and we got a ridiculous storm here. It was unbelievable. There was like loads of lightning. It was amazing. So we had to like shut down the music studio side of things because there's so much lightning. It was nuts. It was nuts. So as I said, I'm looking forward to delving into today, because we touched on so many great things yesterday. The idea of, is the past life in control of you, or are you in control of it? And not just past lives, but we're also talking about, events in our past as well that we're examining into the present, and the fact that when we rehearse this stuff, we enshrine it. So we have to be very careful about how we are looking at this and the story we are telling around it. So it's really good. If you missed yesterday's class, you can pop onto day 101 of spiritual healthcare and go through that, because there's we hit some great information, I thought, yesterday. Lots that came up. And how to fix it. We got into a little bit of how to fix it, but we're going to talk more about that today and how to heal that up. So yeah, past lives. It's such an interesting topic, because as I say, the more we start to delve into and sink into this idea that consciousness is fundamental, that we have all of these amazing energies, whatnot, to draw from, these universal forces and universal energy and things like that, the more we question, what is it? What did we do before we were in this current physical body? We don't really have any memory of it. And when people do have memory of it, it usually turns into, stories and studies of reincarnation, and things like that. And as I was saying yesterday, we have some of the most brilliant insights into life after death through the studies of reincarnation, and it's phenomenal. So doctors like Ian Stevenson and people like that have really pioneered the idea of survival after death through these things. But where we have to be careful when it comes to past lives is the fact that oftentimes what we were talking about yesterday, I see people that are taking past lives or looking into past lives in order to fill a void or something that's empty, and fill a hole that's there in the present, that's in their current reality. And sometimes things will start for one reason and continue for another. So sometimes the investigation into something like a past life, can start just out of intrigue, but end up turning into a way to explain away current emotions or current situations that people are having. So the one thing I have noticed where this becomes very prevalent is the idea that I am important and I matter. So often, and I've actually had family members like this, where they have looked at or wanted a special ability, for example, a special ability like or something that they see as a special ability, such as, I'm psychic and I can only speak to, this person or this deity or whatever it is, and you can't, but I can do this. So they bring on some special ability or some special experience that they believe that they have in order to fill a hole of, I don't matter, I'm not important, I'm not unique enough. If I don't have this thing, then my identity is somehow broken. So one of the things with people who okay, not everybody, but some people who really dig into past lives, is sometimes they're looking for that reason to find that level of importance. And it doesn't mean that their research or their past life is necessarily wrong, but what I'm talking about is the intention underneath of why we want to cling to the past, because the universe is so forward thinking. It's so forward thinking, and we grabbed onto this yesterday, where it's almost like GPS, where it looks where we are and it looks at where we want to be, and it doesn't really care about where we've been. It just cares about now compared to where we need to get to, and it's going to find that path of least resistance to get there. And as soon as we can understand that this is a forward thinking universe, then we can start to understand that, although even though the past life thing is really cool, it's very interesting, but it doesn't drive us between now and where we want to go. Shadow is saying she feels like an old soul. Yeah, and it's interesting too, because there's so many people, and sometimes we'll see this in little kids, where they will have information that just seems so far beyond their years. I had a client in Calgary years ago, I'm talking like 15, 16 years ago. And she was she had a young daughter who at the time was about 5, and this kid had the most amazing insight into the world that I have ever met. Like, it was just incredible. She had this depth of feeling and understanding of things that it was crazy. And she was definitely one of those people. And even at 5 and 6 and 7 years old, what was interesting about her was that she was actually, like, every time she would have a birthday, for instance, she would request that all the gifts were not given to her. She would actually compile gifts for people who needed it and things like this. And this was at like 4 or 5 years old. It was really amazing. Not to say that has anything to do with a past life, but it was very interesting how she just seemed to have a knowledge and insight that was just beyond her years, despite having a very dysfunctional home. Her parents were just all over the place and whatnot. It was crazy. So how she ended up coming out that way is amazing. But so I want to sort of grab onto this a little bit, because, as we move through our experience, here's the thing. As we move through our experience, people make deposits in us, right? We're kind of like banks that kind of move around the world, and people make deposits in us, including our parents, right? From very, very, very early on. And the more that we don't tend to those deposits, the more we can either get the good or the bad of whatever is coming in. And if we haven't had that, if we haven't had those positive deposits, then we start to look for reasons. We start to look and hunt for reasons as to why it happened. Why didn't my parents do these things? Or why didn't my brother do these things? Or why didn't I have these experiences? And we start to look at these different reasons as to what exactly is going on with our experience. And I find that sometimes people immediately begin to point to external circumstances or external things to figure out what happened, there had to have been a deeper reason than, for example, just having a parent that didn't know what the hell they were doing, or having having a bad job. I've had a number of callers call in like this on radio shows where immediately they're looking for, well, it has to be a curse, or it has to be, this thing that happened to me in a past life that's just carrying over. And, that must be why I'm having these experiences now. And it's a way to push off the idea and the responsibility of the fact that we are attracting from our current perspective in this physical world right now. It doesn't have anything to do with a past life. What we're dealing with is something that we are currently activating within us. And we have to begin to understand that in order to change that, it is about now going forward, not about now looking backwards. And the more that we look backwards, I used the analogy yesterday of driving a car, where we have the great big expanse of road and stretch of road ahead of us. And when we're looking ahead of us, we can see the obstacles. We see the long vision. We can see the road signs. We know that we're going in the right direction. We can see the road signs coming so that we know that we're still going in the right direction. And as soon as we do a shoulder check, as soon as we do this, we lose the view out the front windshield. We lose the view. We have to lose the view in order to shift our attention to look backwards. And looking backwards for a moment can be a really good thing. But if we stick in that backward facing motion, then we end up missing the long vision in front of us. And it is so important. Shadow's saying, I think all negative people that have deposited anything in my life need to make a withdrawal to take their shit back. Absolutely. Yeah. And here's the thing. It's like, because we are the bank, because we have that ability, we can turn around and say, no, your business isn't welcome. We have the ability to say, no, you know what, take your crap somewhere else. You don't get to deposit here, because like banks, if that person has got bad credit and they're coming into a bank and saying, oh, I want a loan, I want a special bank account, I want I want a credit card, the bank is going to turn around and say, no, like, I'm looking at your resume and your resume sucks. Like, you don't get to make a deposit here. You take it somewhere else. So that's a big thing. So Shadow's asking, residual energy is not a now thing. Will that energy eventually fade into the future? Well, here's the kicker. Okay, so this is going to take us down the rabbit hole a little bit here, which I'm good with. And that is assuming that we have a past and a future is kind of a human construct anyway. Like we use those terms because we need them in order to make sense of the world. But if we spin down the quantum rabbit hole, time is a very human construct. And there are many theories out there that suggest that even our past is happening in our current present moment. So we could just, as I say, go right down the damn rabbit hole with that, because how long does residual energy last? That's a whole, who knows that, I don't think there's been any studies done on that. And is it just something that is happening in the now that we're just tapping into, Dan says, remove the sign that states deposit your trash here. Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely. I think that's perfect. That's just perfect. And let's see here. I'm just going through comments. Dawn is saying that I'm a very old soul, and that I'm spiritually evolved. Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for imparting the wonderful wisdom with us. Well, thank you, because if you guys inspire me to all of this stuff. So it all comes from you guys. You guys asked, and I'm the universe. I'm the answer. So right. So everybody has a different answer, or gets a different answer, and I guess I'm somebody's answer, which is really good. But yeah, with past lives, it's interesting. We have to learn to allow the now moment to start filling the vacancies that we're starting to feel. We rather than looking backwards. And we have to understand that the thing that raised us, whether it be, we talk about past lives and things like that, the thing that raised us can be the thing that restricts us. And when we really get that, then we have to begin to start looking at, how far we want to delve into that in a different way. Because that thing that raised us, that constant looking back over our shoulder, that constant returning to, that can end up massively restricting where we go from that point forward. Because as I say, we lose the long vision. As soon as we do that, we lose the long vision. And as I say, it can have its useful moments. As I say, some of the best research in the world in terms of life after death is coming from cases of reincarnation and things like that. But how we dig into it and the perspective that we take is really, really important. And this idea that we are, constantly, that we have to rely on that knowledge in order to go forward. We have to be very careful. There was a concept that came out, and I loved this. There's a concept that came out from Marilyn Manson, who wrote an amazing song called The Gardener. And T.D. Jakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes, as well as Bob Proctor, had grabbed onto this concept as well, I thought it was brilliant. And the idea was that our mind in and of itself is called the garden. And the mind is like a garden that we have to tend to, that we have to, that we grow things in. We are actively growing things. We are actively fertilizing the soil. We are actively nurturing the garden and deciding what we're going to put in, what we're going to prune, what we're going to take out. And we can't mistake the fact that we are not the gardener. We are not the gardener. But having this energy, this non-physical energy, this this sort of spiritual space of the mind that we're putting this stuff into, we get to choose. We get to pick. And it's brilliant. It's a brilliant concept. But when we get into things like the mind, we have to realize that this conscious energy, it gave us this ability to grow these new things, and it's all forward-thinking stuff. It didn't give us, for example, a table. It gave us the energy, the inspiration, the materials to go out and create the table. So oftentimes people will move throughout the world and they're looking for tables when they're surrounded by a bunch of trees. Right? So it's like, we're not going to be given the table. We were given the inspiration. We were given the knowledge, the know-how, and the tools to make the table from the trees. So we have to stop looking for the table and expecting the table to show up, because the table's not going to show up. Trees will show up to give you that pathway, but you're never going to see Source tell you how to make it. It's going to give you the inspiration, but it's not going to tell you how to make it. Shadow was saying The Long Hard Road Out of Hell by Manson was a really great read. It really is. It really is. And it's an incredible book. This was his autobiography, for those of you guys who aren't familiar with it. And it is controversial. It is mind opening, and it's a spiritual journey that is very unforgettable. It's very, very unforgettable. And his wake-up calls were quite incredible. He had an overdose and a massive heart attack. And when he had his heart attack, he had a very interesting experience in the hospital when he woke up. And he had an aha moment that was basically, do you want to contribute, or do you want to contaminate the world and your experience going forward? What do you want to do with your life? And he realized that he had the power to contribute as an artist and as a person and as an influencer, and that he had the opportunity to teach people that we create our reality. And it was a fascinating book, just absolutely fascinating book. So yeah, so it's really interesting, but we have to remember this, like, leadership really is about influence within your circle. And once we understand and realize that and start to move forward by, as I say, looking for the trees, not the tables, and to be able to realize that our ability to give in the current moment, give into this current reality, realizing that you are important, that you do matter, and to be able to give the thing that you wish that you had have gotten, it really does begin the healing process. And it's incredible the power that it has. So instead of turning around and constantly looking over your shoulder, looking backwards at the past lives, realizing what that has inspired in you to do now. There might be something that's in there that could be a calling for you going forward. It could be something in your current experience that is calling you forward. But here's the thing, is that Source really loves controversy. It really loves controversy, and it won't let you stay within that circle. It won't. The growth is always outside of that. It doesn't like to let you stay local. It pulls you out of that. In business, it's funny because we look at things like the idea of global versus local business, for instance. And I find that always really interesting because, you have that, you might have that influence locally, but source always kind of has that bigger picture, and it always kind of draws you out into this next arena. And staying where you are, it won't work. It won't work, and source won't allow for it. That's the thing. It won't allow for it. Shadow's asking, do you give any credence to the idea that the people we know and love in this life are people we've known and loved from previous lives? You know what? I have an amazing story about this. Because I think we so often know each other from that non-physical energy, whether it was a past life or whether it was, something that we knew each other's energy when we were still non-physical. Absolutely. My partner and I are probably the best example of that ever. I knew him immediately. He felt like home to me instantly when I was very young. I watched his career throughout my entire life, knowing that something there was a connection there. And when I finally reached out to him and got a hold of him, as soon as he saw me, he had the same feeling immediately. And we've been connected ever since. It was really crazy, and it was a knowing that was just, it was beyond. And the first time that we met each other, because we don't live in the same city, the first time that we met each other, it was a reunion. We didn't feel like we had been separated at all. It was really crazy. So that was, for me, that was a really great example of it. And the funny thing was, here's the other cool thing about this, is that he knew that I was out there. So during the time that I knew that that I was connected with him in some way, he also knew that I was out there. He just didn't know who I was. So it's really interesting. So it was, so 20, that was like 25 plus years in the making. It was really interesting, really crazy. So definitely, I think there is connections beyond. It's undeniable. It's absolutely undeniable when it happens. It's really phenomenal. So the other question that I wanted to grab actually came from Twitter, from Xiaoling, and I loved this. This is like, talk about controversial topics. So they were asking, I'm gonna stir the pot a bit. Other paranormal celebs seem not as nice as you. Are there any cool stories? And with the amazing amount of ghost shows out there, how many shitty stories are you forced to endure? So I love this question. And, I've been so fortunate that I have not really run into any like real jerks over the years, in terms of, paranormal celebrities. I don't know very many of them, to be honest. The only ones that I really know are, the incredible Richard Estep, as well as Ken Gerhard. I can't say enough about them. Lyle Blackburn, again, really nice person. And just all these people that have just been so talented. So I haven't run into any like jerky paranormal celebrities. And I think mainly because they know that they're not really going to get a rise out of me. I don't get a lot of trolls and stuff like that because I don't respond. And when I do, I'm just no fun for them. I think I'm just no fun for them. And, they just, I don't know, they just don't last. I'm just not in their frequency. I think, they just, there's been people out there, but, I haven't really, so I don't have any like crazy cool stories. I mean, about jerks. I have some good stories about like really good people. Like the last time we filmed Paranormal 911, myself and Richard and our mutual friend Wes Coleman, who's another investigator in Toronto. A lot of us went to this mansion in Toronto called the Keg Mansion, and we had a blast. And we like the three of us, we were up all night, like just chatting and talking research and talking shop and whatever. And we had a really, really good time. And we got to visit this haunted old governor's house, which had been turned into the Keg. And that was really cool. So like I've had a lot of really good stories. I think most of the problems, if any, that I've run into with paranormal people or investigators in general, it's usually the people who are I guess, sitting, I guess, in the more cliquey circles, and they're the ones who are, they're always throwing stones up at you. Because here's the thing, you guys. People never ever throw stones down. People throw stones up. So I guarantee you, if you've got people who are like haters in your experience, they have to throw stones up at you. They're not throwing stones down. It's really true. And the more you get into it, in terms of whether it be the paranormal world or entertainment or whatever, it's really true. They don't throw stones down, they throw stones up. And so usually that's how it works. So I've been very, very fortunate, like, where I haven't actually had any people be like just genuine like jerks or something like that. I've been very fortunate. But are there any like terrible stories that I'm forced to endure because of the show? Not really. Like, I mean, there's times where I definitely have run out of energy to listen to stories. Like, there's definitely those times where, you'll meet somebody, and as soon as they know what you do, they have to tell you every paranormal thing that they have ever had happen to them in their whole life. And there's times where I'm just like, I can't, but they have to tell you like the whole works. So that can be kind of trying if you're doing something like you're out for supper or you're, something like that. Usually people are pretty good though. Like, if they do recognize me, then, people are just, they've been awesome. They've been really awesome. Some of the stories that can come in are very weird. But on the shows, I don't vet the stories. The producers vet the stories. So I only get the stories once everybody's kind of, the producers have already run the gambit of what the stories are and what they're about and what the people are about. So if they get a whiff that something's off, usually they'll get a hold of me and be like, look, something's not lining up, and they pull the story and it's just done. There's been a couple of people that I will be given interview transcripts or whatever. I've caught a couple of people lying, and so that those stories were pulled. So I've had stuff happen like that. But I mean, I find the stories are fascinating. People's encounters are so interesting. I think the only time I get frustrated is when people, as I say, are using the stories themselves to garner some sort of I don't know, I guess attention or notoriety, or they're using it as a manipulation tool in some way. Those stories very frustrate me, or they're not open to learning about what it was that they experienced. So people that tend to shut down, they've got this idea, they want your opinion, but you give them your opinion and then they turn around and they don't want to hear your opinion. They've set a storyline up for it and they won't budge from the storyline. So it's stuff like that can be very frustrating, because at that point you're not really having a discussion anymore. You're just you're just being told something that's like the conversation just stops. So I think those are the only like really annoying incidents that I've had. In terms of paranormal celebrities, I haven't had anything too crazy in terms of people. There's definitely some paranormal celebrities out there where I don't support their position, like 100% just don't support their position. But I've never met them, so I mean I can't comment on them personally because I've never met them. I've not talked to them and whatnot. Do I agree with their shows? No, I don't. But it's I don't know what their motive is. I really don't, because I've never spoken to them. Shadow says, I'm so diplomatic with how you say people can bug you. Yeah, it's true. It's true, but I think we have, like, when we put ourselves out there, we get to turn around and we're in a position where we're privileged enough for people to come to us and tell us this stuff. And sometimes it's things that they won't even tell their family, So, I mean, we have to be conscious, I think, of how we're receiving those stories, you know, like we really, really do. And we have to be mindful of the fact that, you know, this might be a secret that they've hung on to for a very long time. You know, and they're just bringing it to light now. They're just trying to understand it. So, you know, even if it's just a story we've heard a million times, I think as investigators, we still have to hold that space. Even if it's a situation where you go, look, I can't talk to you right now, send me an email or something like that, right? So I think it's something we got to do. So Shadow is mentioning Zach Baggins. Yes, that is the quintessential entertainer right there. He is something. As I said, I've never met the guy. I have no idea. I don't know too much about him. I don't agree with his position on the shows and whatever. But I mean, I get the fact he's doing it for entertainment and things like that. But yeah, I've not met the guy, so I can't comment one way or the other. I don't understand his show. I'll tell you that. I don't get it. So yeah. Anyway. So everybody, it is it's 10:30 here, so we've got to do some peace affirmations to like get ourselves ready and to challenge who in our life is making deposits, whether it be through the television or whether it be in our experience. So everybody take a breath. I'm a channel of peace and well-being, and my need for peace is abundantly met. I unconditionally accept, love, and appreciate myself for who I am. I recognize and am grateful for the abundance that is constantly flowing into my life, which I can choose to allow or not. I feel with every breath a sense of peace and love. And I help others by maintaining and tending to my connection with Source as much as possible. This well-being is accessible to me, even in a sea of uncertainty. And at this moment, all is well. I'm able to liberate myself from my past and live with peace and serenity. I can see and appreciate all the beauty and abundance of the life around me. I'm able to embrace love while letting go of fear. And I find peace with the soothing silence of my inner being. Everybody take a breath. Well, that was another fabulous day of spiritual health care, everybody. We will be back tomorrow morning. The entityseeker.ca website has been updated, so there's new interviews, and of course all of these videos end up getting put there as well. So they're always up to date. So that's entityseeker.ca. It's all there. There's some new photos up, and there's a bunch of things. I hammered through a bunch of stuff last night and whatever. It's still under renovations, but you know, it's looking pretty anyway. So if you guys want to catch up on past classes, you can go to youtube.com/entityseeker. They are all there as well. And thank you guys so much again for everything and for being here every day. You guys are amazing, and much love to all of you. Hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Bye everybody.